Hey guys, welcome into the Shadow Box. I am Carlise, your host and your grief and trauma coach and your shadow work guide. Today with us we have Tara Porter. Tara is a grief coach. She's a grief coach and she's actually completing her certification as we speak. Tara is a she does storytelling through her global community, and she shares this information on Instagram. So you can find all of her information on Instagram. She is the creator of the global movement on Fridays We Dance. And she's going to tell us a lot about that because if you've seen Tara do this stuff, she has a whole bunch of energy and it works. It works. Tara is she does this through humor, through vulnerability, through real conversation about loss. Tara is helping reshape how we talk about grief while supporting individuals and communities as they navigate healing. As she often says, grief may ride shotgun, but joy still can take the wheel. Welcome to the Shadow Box, Tara. Tell us some more about yourself.
Well, my name's Tara. I have been on this grief ride for, over 16 years. I'm a mom. I have two boys and a little girl that is an angel. My husband is an avid hockey coach for our son. We are a hockey family, and I'm self-employed. Do design work. So that's always my connection with my customers has always been foremost very important to me. And as I've journeyed through the past couple of years with On Fridays We Dance, that just kind of very organically happened. I felt called to lean into my grief journey more and not so much in, I guess while I've been doing it, it's to share the honesty and the realness about the feelings of that everybody likes to kind of skirt the uncomfortableness of talking about grief. I can remember after my mom died, running into someone in the grocery store maybe a week later, and it was like I was trying to go in head down. I just needed to get what I needed to get and get out. And run into this person and they're like, "Oh, Tara, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom." And I looked up and I just started bawling.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even say thank you. And they were so uncomfortable. And then I felt awful for making them uncomfortable. And it's
Mhm.
like, the reality is we lose somebody.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's like it feels selfish to be sad because with my mom, she'd had cancer, she'd been sick. So there was relief in the fact that she was no longer suffering. Watching her in that state, I know she wanted to fight and carry on, but I can still remember saying to my dad, I'm like, if this is what it's going to be for her to live, I'm like, I can't do this. This isn't fair. This isn't living. This isn't what she
Yeah.
wanted. She was only 50 when she died. Like
Wow.
they were very young. They were teenagers when they had me. So there was relief in knowing she was done with the suffering. But man, I tell you, like she's been gone 15 years. What I wouldn't give to be able to hold her hand still and just be able
Yeah.
to tell her about my day, tell her
Yeah.
about what the kids are doing. Like it's now, it's not even the birthdays or the anniversaries. Like those always, they will always be there. I find Mother's Day is always a hard one, but
Mhm.
it's the random things that sometimes like leg sweep me that catch me off guard now. I'm like, ugh, wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah. And with that, with her passing away 15 years ago and her being 50, I am sure that a lot of those things that sweep you away are just the aspects of being a mother, being a woman. Like how I don't have anyone to go to ask these questions to when it comes to my life changes, when it comes to how I'm supposed to maneuver my kid.
Yep.
And I imagine that that's a part of what you're speaking about.
Well, yeah, she was always my go-to. Like she lived in the same town as us, and my husband joked. He goes, heaven forbid we'd move 5 minutes out of town because you'd be too far away from your mom. Talked every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So to automatically, when you want to go and call her and just be like, there would be the things I just want to run by her. And now as I'm leaning into pivoting my life a bit with this grief work, there's things I want to run by her. And I'm like,
Yeah,
things
you
about,
can't.
going to her about my kids. Like, am I like,
Mhm.
and again, I doubt myself so much in some things.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that comes from childhood trauma I've had, but it's like, am I doing this wrong? Like, even I was pregnant, 10 weeks pregnant with my youngest when she had passed away.
Mhm.
Um, and he was a challenging, and he still is. He's a joy. He's a beautiful, wonderful child, and he's exactly the kid I need to
Yeah.
make me become the mom I am, because my oldest, he was easy.
Right.
Um, but it's to get out of and its old generational patterns. Oh, what must everybody think of me?
Mhm.
Oh, I can't. My kid would, as a toddler, scream in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Oh God, what must everybody think of me? And it's been very freeing as I can slowly release that. I see it slaps me in the face when it catches me up, and I'm like, no, he's really awesome as he is. He's meant to be.
Yeah.
He's the way he is because of what we went through. Because he was also, the year before my mom died Christmas Day, the year before on December 28th, we lost our daughter at birth. We'd had problems with her, so it was two guttural losses back to back.
Yeah. And let's talk about that because baby Harper, right? That's her name?
Yeah, baby
Yeah.
Harper.
Baby Harper. So did Harper pass away before your mom or after?
Before. So she was
Before.
2009 and my mom
Okay.
was in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what happened with baby Harper and kind of how you got into this world of grief.
So when I was about 20 weeks pregnant, on an ultrasound, they found fluid in her lungs and cysts on both sides of her neck.
Mm.
So we went from my family GP to being followed at a high risk specialist hospital. Um, and you went, I still refer to it as Yucky Tuesday because it was a Tuesday where they just have all their new patients coming in. I had a high definition ultrasound, and then you would go to be followed up with the team after. Well, the radiologist came in while the tech was doing the ultrasound, and he said, "Oh, I really wish you would have done the pre-screening. Like, there would be chromosomal screening we could do at 13 weeks." And
Mm.
as my parents had been teenagers when they had me, for me it was like, well, I'm termination isn't something I'd be doing. Like, if my parents could have chose that because they were teenagers, they didn't. So I'm like, we roll with what we get.
Right.
But I remember him saying, "Oh, we don't know what it is, and if we could rule out something chromosomal." But it literally felt like someone picked me up and threw me across the room, and I can still remember the tears just slowly streaming down my face.
Yeah.
So I was seen by a high risk doctor every 2 weeks at a time. I'd have an ultrasound. They would check. She ended up, part of what was happening with her, one of the ducts in your umbilical cord that would connect to the baby's heart and keep that pumping in utero, it was
Mhm.
going into her liver. So her heart was working like ours does now, but she
Yeah.
had congestive heart failure. So that's
Mm.
where the fluid was coming. So as visits progressed, she almost had next to no fluid in her. He said, I remember my doctor saying, we're just going to be cautiously optimistic. I was the size of a house, like the fluid was passing on to me. I
Mhm.
was just
Mhm.
gigantic. But for everything she'd kind of been going through, she was always a very, very, very active baby.
Yeah.
So the night of December 27th through the night, like, I didn't feel her move at all. And I remember at
Mhm.
one point laying in bed watching a movie and put my hand on my belly and just said, "Come on, baby girl, give me one good kick." And I felt like a light little flutter,
Yeah.
but nothing through the rest of the night. So the next day we did go to the hospital. Um, and they hooked me up to the monitors, and her heart rate was great, exactly where they wanted it to be, but they weren't getting any kicks or anything coming through. So through the course of the day, I'd had 3 ultrasounds, and she had just, from I think 5 days previous, I'd had a checkup and she was fine.
Okay.
She'd filled with fluid, like, it was around her heart, it was in both lungs, it was kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
So at that point, yeah, I was 30 weeks
Mm.
along. So the doctor just said, unfortunately, we're going to have to get this baby out. She's she's telling us it's time. So it was a wildly calming day in the sense that I was nowhere near to where I am, and being able, like the awareness, the connection, like being able to calm myself, mindfulness. I was a panic at the disco, wear my heart on my sleeve,
Yeah.
absolutely like flip out. Um, so we had a C-section, um, and they had taken her off to a room to work on her. And I remember they had said, as soon as she's stabilized, dad's going to be able to come in and see her. So when they had called Sean in, my husband, to go see her, I was like, okay, we're good. She's fine. And he came back and said she was gone, that they had to call him in
Okay.
to get permission to stop working on her. She just couldn't make it. We had done an autopsy because they had said to us all along, they're like, we've never seen anything like this. So we were, and it was a teaching hospital as well. So
Mhm.
I always had every Tom, Dick, and Harry followed along,
Right.
right in appointments. And we were like, yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath that we'll get an answer. But if you can learn something out of this, then not all is lost.
Mhm.
And it came back. She had what's called Noonan syndrome, which I'd never heard of before, but it would have been a lot of heart and lung issues that she
Mhm.
would have had throughout her life, where she would have had to have a lot of surgeries. And I can still remember that day being in the genetic specialist office getting those results and falling apart, like just utterly sobbing. And which it surprised me the reaction I had, but it was relief that there was an answer. And I remember them saying there was nothing we did or could have done to change it. It was just a spelling mistake in the genes at conception. Um, there was no history of any of it in either one of our families.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah. So going into then my third pregnancy with Quinn, I was terrified that something was going to
Mhm.
happen, because I was like, okay, like we had no problems with our first. There were no issues. There's no history of this. Like, I don't want to get excited about this baby because I'm terrified that the ball's going to drop and he's going to be taken away. And at 10 weeks, I've just lost my mom. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah. And
handle any of this.
let's just pause there, right? Let's
Yeah.
just pause at baby Harper, because that was a lot for you to have to process in. I mean, first of all, going a whole 30 weeks with your pregnancy. And then the abruptness of, although we knew that she had some issues, the
Yep.
abruptness of losing her, right?
Which
So,
I've never given myself the reality that losing her
mhm.
was really, and that's probably my own self protection and preservation. It was more, okay, I'm going to have a 2-year-old and we're going to have to be in the NICU. And how are we going to do this? And
Yeah, right.
um,
Yeah. And that's the way that you started to learn how to survive,
yeah,
right? And that was your brain's way of, like you said, protection, of not allowing you to think of the dire circumstances for one, but even the outcome, right? That
yeah.
could possibly be there. And so with Harper, how did you were how old at the time, if you don't mind me asking?
How old was I? 31.
Okay, 31. How did you start to process what was really going on? Did you find yourself processing, or did you find yourself just with the continual just survival, just keep going?
I mean, there was a lot of survival in there, but there was also like, I did go to therapy. I remember in the hospital, they had offered a social worker for me, and I was like, she was lovely, but it was almost like, you'll be okay. This is
Mhm.
gonna, and again, that they're doing the best they could, but I just was like, no, I don't need this. But I mean, earlier in my 20s, I had gone to therapy. I found I wasn't coping at my job. Like, anxiety, I think, had gotten the best of me. So I
Okay.
was like, I think I need to go. And even like, my mom had been diagnosed with cancer 2 years before we had Harper. So
Okay.
it was when my oldest was born. So even
Okay.
at that point, I had gone to some therapy because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we
And
know.
so go ahead.
Oh, it was just for, like, with my mom's cancer, it was treatable but not curable. So,
Mm,
when that
okay.
realization set in, I was like, I need supports to keep my head afloat because I have someone relying on me to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Who was
And
also what was keeping me alive.
right. And I like how you said it was treatable but not curable, right? Because in your mind with Harper, where you were automatically kind of thinking that we're going to get through this is curable and treatable,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like you really wanted to be optimistic about it, but the truth of the matter, I think you weren't accepting of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can
um
also remember saying to my mom and my aunt, what have I done so bad in my life that I'm being punished like this?
okay, let's talk about it.
It was, again, I think beliefs of shame, as I've come to in the past couple years, have unpacked some childhood trauma.
Mhm.
Um, my abuser had told me if anybody knew the bad things I did, no one would love me.
Mhm.
And so there has been, I don't even think I've realized really how deeply shame has been such an impact on my life where,
Yeah.
I would be a perfectionist. I would always strive to get great grades. I never had, and I always wondered, I'm like, why have I been a perfectionist? I never got that pressure from my parents.
Yeah.
Um, but just that, I think in some ways too, and again, nothing to disrespect the sanctity of the church, but I know growing up in the church, there was also kind of like if you sin,
Yeah.
you will be punished. So all those
Loops.
little beliefs, the little,
Mhm.
talks in my head, I'm like, well, I haven't, why is this happening to me?
Yeah. So you start going through the whole process of what you've done, what your
What have I
abuser
done?
has
Why,
done. Yeah.
why is my mom dying and now my child has died? Like
Mhm.
I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you internalized it, you personalized it, as in it's what I've done that caused this
Yeah.
to happen to me. Yeah.
And then I would, there would be bursts, I would allow tears to come out. I would also shove it down.
Hmm. Yeah.
Can't deal with this now. We're going to just pack, pack, pack,
Yeah.
pack, 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 pack.
Yeah. Until it does come out, right?
And then it wasn't pretty.
Yeah. So, and that was my next question with this too. Well, a little bit, because I just want to know what was your experience. You sent me a picture of baby Harper,
Yep.
and I imagine that you guys were able to hold her. Did you hold her? Yeah.
Yep.
What was your experience within that space?
I still like I can still feel being in like in the recovery room in that moment, holding her and being so numb and so in shock.
Right.
Um, and holding this baby. And I remember saying, like, why? And like just being so monotone, emotionless, all of it. But I
Mhm.
just was like, why is she purple? Like, why is she so purple?
Yeah.
And they were like, she never got a chance to pink up because she could never actually get a breath. I was like,
Okay.
right. Okay. But I mean, both of my boys, when they were born, were blonder than blonde. You can't tell by my head of gray hair now, but I had very dark, thick hair as a like I think I had my first haircut at 6 months.
Okay.
Very, very dark
Your
hair.
hair is very thick. I've noticed that your hair is
Yeah.
thick. Yeah.
But Harper, for being born at 30 weeks, she had a thick head of dark hair already.
Mhm.
And I've always like my thing, I think it's but just like rubbing my baby's head, like just sat there and rubbed her head, and they offered to bring a photographer into the hospital, and it was like a brutal freaking snowstorm that day too, and we're like, no, no, it's okay. But they took pictures themselves,
Okay.
and they had wrapped her in some blankets. They took like they did moldings of her feet and her hands, like the package we got from them, it's in this beautiful box in a velvet bag that
Yeah.
has I'm so grateful that they did those things for me in those pictures, that I can go back and look at them and
Yeah.
have a moment with, even though I know spiritually she's around me all the time,
Yeah.
there's still to have those tangible things. Like even the following day, I remember the nurse saying, do you want to hold her? And I was like, oh, I can still hold her. So yeah, so she'd brought her and she was wrapped in many blankets and
Mm-hmm.
took the blankets off in the hat and I'm rubbing her head and I'm like, oh, right. She's cold. She's in the morgue.
Yeah.
And when I was finally at home, because I did have to stay in the hospital longer because it was a cesarean birth, I remember thinking, oh, I wish I could have just brought her home to keep her in the freezer to hold her on occasion. And I laugh saying that now, but that is where I just wanted to hold my baby. Leaving that hospital without a baby in hand and having now a surgery to recover from was like next level
Yeah.
devastation.
And it
Yeah.
makes you start thinking like, what was it all for, right? And having that, having the tangible portions of the pictures and the footprints or the moldings, and being able to hold her, um, that is what kept it real for you, right? And
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't just a phantom ordeal. It's not like you never seen her or never had any
Yeah.
parts of her. Because I think that people, especially when they do have like stillbirths or miscarriages or things of that nature, there's the reality of that the baby is not there, right? And then some people don't have those memories. They don't have those they have the memory but don't have anything tangible to bring with them. And
Yeah.
so as they're going through their grief, and as these certain things start to pop up in their mind, they start thinking that they're tripping out. Was it just a figment of my imagination? Was it just, am I supposed to be this attached to this being that was not really here, and that all these things? But I'm glad that hospitals started to capture those moments, because it keeps the parents in a sane mind. Like, this was really my baby, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even like booklets and pamphlets of like we had a funeral for her.
Hmm.
We were so deeply loved and supported and held by our friends and family. Um, and I can still remember the minister saying before we walked in, he goes, a lot of people here today will be mad at God. That's okay. God deserves to kind of be in shit for this one because no one should lose a child. He's
Yeah.
got big shoulders, he can carry it. So to hear that honesty from a minister too was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't go into this is okay, everything happens for a reason. And I'm the type of person that I do like to know, like I always, well, this has to happen because like I want to connect the dots. I want to have the puzzle together. Well, this happened because of this, and there's got to be a reason this happened. And
Yeah.
sometimes there's no fucking reason it happened. Like it
Yeah.
just is. And I might what I often will say to people now, I'm like, grief is just a motherfucker.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
you are you're devastated. You're lost. The with Harper, it was the life I thought I was going to have. That was now gone.
Yeah.
With my mom, then the following year, it was like all the memories. Like it's
Mhm.
both deep grief, grieved both of them very differently. And I
Okay.
don't really know how to explain that, but it's,
Well,
you know,
let's go into mom because, well, and first, I just want to say kudos to you for being a willing participant in the university's studies or whatever they did, to figure out what was going on with Harper. Because a lot of parents in that space, they're like, I don't want my baby to be just some subject, and I don't want, all the students and all those things. But you were really like, no, I want you to find out what's wrong with what happened to her.
well, and in saying that, actually, when Quinn was born and we went like we were followed at the same hospital, even though there was nothing wrong, they held me with, kids' gloves, cared for me like it was phenomenal. But when I went into labor with him and we went into the hospital, the doctor, she was a resident maybe. Anyway, one of the doctors that was on call that night, she came in, introduced herself, and she said, "You probably don't remember me. I was part of your team because our team was like huge that we had
Mhm.
with Harper. There was all sorts of specialists and people I met, but the main doctor I had was who I would see every 2 weeks. But she was one of the people on the team following along with her file. So they said within a couple of months of Harper everything, or maybe getting her autopsy results had been in by April. So it was within a few months. They had another mom come in presenting with the same things.
Yeah.
So they were quick to figure out that, okay, this baby has Noonan syndrome as well. And
Mhm.
so this doctor was also pregnant at the time, and she said, and I wouldn't know what the proper term is, it's almost like her body is allergic to her being pregnant, so
Mhm.
she goes into labor early with her kids. Her child was in the NICU. She was there. They knew that this mom would go from being fine to all of a sudden toilet bowling very quickly. So
Yeah.
when some of the similar things had started happening, they were like, okay, we know that this baby, it's time. And this baby was a boy. I think it's time for this boy to be born. And she said they were much further along in their gestation than she was, but they were still in the hospital. But she said, I want to thank you for your willingness
Yeah.
to work with us. And she goes, I still remember you saying, if you can get answers out of this, then it's not for nothing. She said that we were able to save a life
Yeah.
because of you. And so for that was, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's bittersweet, admittedly,
Yes.
it's bittersweet, because it's
Yeah.
like it took one to save one. And and Harper just happened to be the one that it took. But again, just within your population, just look at the lives, not just the one, but the lives that you and Harper will continue to save,
Yeah.
because because you allowed that process to happen.
Yeah. And I am so grateful that they could have answers because it was terrifying to hear. We've never seen this before. What the
Mhm.
hell do you mean you've never seen this?
Yeah. Like,
Right?
isn't
Like,
this what I
it's
pay you
just
for?
rare.
Aren't you a doctor? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go into mom. And mom's name is Tracy, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's go into mom. So we lose mom. How did that come about? And tell us a little bit about mom.
Oh, mom was a firecracker.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was funny and just like could just be silly. Um, and so she had what multiple myeloma. So it was a blood cancer that caused your bones to fracture. So the summer leading into my oldest being born, she'd been suffering from excruciating back pain and was doing physio and not getting results that she should have. So she had eventually gone for an MRI, and her T10 vertebrae had tumored and it was putting pressure on her spinal cord.
Mhm.
So she'd had surgery. And I remember once when they had done surgery to take that vertebrae out, they had said it could be, one, two, or three. One and two were curable types. Type three was like treatable, not curable. Well, Thanksgiving weekend, we found out that she had the type three,
Okay.
treatable, not curable. So um, that was 2007. In 2008, she did a stem cell transplant.
Mhm.
So where they would take her own stem cells and harvest them, and then she got high dose chemo and they injected that back into her system. So she was in the hospital in isolation for 3 weeks. It was really hard to see that. I can remember going to see her the night, like her hair had been coming out in chunks, and they said basically it'll take 2 weeks for all of the chemo symptoms to kind of kick in, but she had sores in her throat and her mouth and
Mhm.
vomiting and hair coming out in chunks. So I had gone, like it was finally where they're like, you can go. Gave my dad a night off, and she just said, Tara, I want to shave my head today. Will you do it? And I start bawling. I'm like, I can't do it. And
Yeah.
my aunt showed up. My aunt's a nurse, so she was always alongside us the entire way. So she said, I'll shave your head. So I stood there, and I remember when I did finally go to leave, like I had a full blown meltdown in the car.
Yeah.
I'd seen her sick as hell leading into that, but the just that stereotypical visual of someone being bald when they are going through cancer treatment just made it all. It's almost like you could kind of pretend like you knew, but you didn't have to fully admit this is what's
Yeah.
going on. And to see that, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
here we are. And then she had been doing, like when Harper was born, she had been doing so well. She was self-employed, had her own decorating business. She was back into working, and she really took the reins and helped to organize a lot of Harper's funeral because I was in the hospital. My husband was devastated. Like She just did it. Um, that August of 2010 when she'd gone, because she'd go every 2 months for checkups and it would always be present in her blood, but it would depend on the level of how much
Hmm.
was there. They'd said, Tracy, we've never seen your blood work this good. If we didn't know any different, we'd just think you were a regular person. That happened. September, she turned 50. We had a big party for her. Was a blast. And by the end of October, like something was going on and it was back, and it was back with a vengeance. And it was a rare type of cancer that was supposed to be slow progressing, but it was like, um, and I remember being with her the evening of December 22nd, staying with her at the house. And I mean, actually that whole month, she kind of we'd have to have different people staying with her during the day. My dad is also self-employed in construction. So he was trying to finish up a job. So she's at home and different people would come, but she was so wazooed from all the meds she was on and would be very confused. And sometimes she'd be very with it but she'd pick up the remote control and she'd have a conversation with someone.
Okay.
Like it was
Okay.
kind of cross between an Alzheimer's patient and a cancer patient. Like
Yeah.
her eyes were sunk into her head at this point. Like I knew it wasn't good. And I think it was that day my cousin had stayed with her and she said, yeah, Tara's going to China to visit the pandas today. Like,
That's what your mom said?
yeah, we would just laugh because she was
Okay.
making no sense.
Yeah. And that, that's something that I did hear. I had another guest on, and her mother had cancer as well, and it is something like they do go into like a dementia state when they're
Yeah.
in this, within the. I don't know if it's because of the treatment or because it's progressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard that before, and
And
that
my
has to be heartbreaking. Did she always remember who you were?
oh yeah,
Okay.
she remembered who all of us were. My sister at the time had been living, like I live in Ontario. My sister was living out in BC, so she had come home for a visit knowing that mom was not well. And all of a sudden it was like the night Holly got home, mom was actually like with it. Like dad and I
Mhm.
couldn't believe it. So she was great. My brother had come down with his kids for a visit for a couple of days. He had left and Holly had crawled into bed with mom for a nap the one afternoon. And she looks at Holly. She goes, I'm really upset with Tara. And she goes, why? She goes, well, why has she been hiding Harper from me? She hasn't brought her over and I want to see her.
Mhm.
And my sister started bawling. She's like, okay. She goes, I've been dreaming about Harper a lot lately, and why won't Tara bring her over to me?
Okay.
So it was that veil was very close.
Yeah.
And leading into December 23rd was the day she was admitted into palliative, and I had been with her the night before.
Mhm.
And I had gone into work that morning, and I'd said to my coworker, I think this is the last Christmas with my mom. She goes, why would you say that? I'm like, she's really sick. And it was a
Wow.
few hours later we got a call that they thought she'd had an aneurysm, but she actually ended up with pneumonia.
Okay.
So on her death certificate, I think cause of death was pneumonia, but
Okay.
um, it was 2 days, the last one being Christmas Day, that we had to watch her really finally fade off.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful it was as quick as that because I couldn't have done weeks on end of her hanging on like that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just even in observance, just looking at you now as you talk about it, it still clinches you. You know what I mean? Like it still just grabs a hold of you. And as I'm thinking about that too, Harper was the end of December. Her
Yep.
passing away was the end of December.
Yep.
Mom's is the end of December,
Yeah.
or in that same timeline. And just you guys, was she diagnosed somewhere in November as well? Like, um,
Harper
no,
or
mom,
mom? Mom's original diagnosis happened 3 years previous in September.
September. Um, but something happened in November.
Oh, when
Um,
her cancer kind of just it was all of a sudden, like, progressing
okay.
back of that year, yeah.
Okay. And so with that, how do you cope with the holidays coming up? Do you notice when you're do you notice like certain physiological things start happening towards those
Yep.
dates?
The first year leaning into it, like, it was you're playing back the, "Oh, this was the last time of this, and this was the last time
Hmm.
of this." That first Christmas, my husband had said, "We're gonna have a Christmas open house on Christmas Eve." I'm
Okay.
like, "Don't want that." He goes,
Yeah.
"No, we need to be around people." And as we got closer to that date, like at that point, Quinn was only a few months old. Grayson was in kindergarten, and our school system at that point, kindergarten was all day, every other day. So I'd have one day where he'd be at school and I'd just be at home with the baby. And then I'd have another day where I'd have both of them home. So the days where he was at school, getting closer to Christmas,
Yeah.
I was a mess. Like, I would cry. I didn't like to cry in front of him.
Hmm.
I wanted to try and remain strong and keep it together because he's an old soul and he would ask questions. And as soon as
Yeah.
I would start to cry, he would stop because he didn't want to upset me.
Yeah.
So having that Christmas open house that first year was the best thing that we ever could have done, being surrounded with people. And Christmas Day actually wasn't, it never is a hard day. Like, I will have a cry at some point, usually fairly early in the morning. But it's more leading into it. And I find now I'll have one day in December where all of a sudden it's like the grief, it just comes and I'm crying and I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I need to have my sad day today, whether it's a weekend, whether it's a weekday. And again, so much gratitude for the fact that I work for myself. So when that surfaces on a weekday, I can be like,
Yeah.
peace out. Sorry, we need this. And when I, you know, say to grief, sorry, I don't have time for you today. I
Yeah.
really have a lot of work to get done. I will deal with you later. Literally by the next day, I will be sick.
Yeah.
So even lately, I didn't have that this Christmas. I leaned into my grief. I allowed it.
Hmm.
Um, and I was good. I didn't get sick. Like a lot of Decembers, I will be sick at some point.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been really tired. Like, I've felt like the physical exhaustion. And I've
Hmm.
allowed myself to rest a bit, but clearly not as much as I needed. And this past weekend, it kind of said, all right, you should know better by now, but I'm going to set you on your ass and make you rest. So,
Yeah. Now, when would Harper have been born? When was she supposed
oh, that's actually March 11th was her due date.
to? Okay. So that's
I hadn't
right.
even thought of that as I'm
Hmm.
actually sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right. And so that's why I asked, like, do you notice certain things start to come up, during certain dates?
Yeah.
And so when you were like, tired, I've been tired, and I'm like, okay, this is March. So when was she
Yeah.
supposed to be born? And that is your body's way of starting to
God, it's
warn
funny.
you, starting to, yeah,
I usually clue into that shit and I totally didn't.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
of course, of course. But it is about being aware, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, a lot of the times, when these dates start to come up, we're so caught up in life, or we're so caught up in one little thing that may have just ticked us off or what have you, not realizing that the reason that our nervous system is and our emotional system is so heightened, and so sensitive, is because we have these dates coming up. And so our bodies know and start to prepare and start to anticipate prior to those dates coming, because it's like, okay, now we need to go into protection mode because
Yeah.
I know what this date means to me. And,
Our
we
cells
just,
remember.
yeah. And so we just start to, just go and go and go. And it's just like, oh, that's the reason why I find myself in a corner in tears. That's the
Mhm.
reason why I need to pull over and, what have you. It's grief happens it does happen at a cellular level. It does happen at an automatic level where it's flowing through you. And we
Yeah.
get so used to surviving it. We get so used to coping with it in one way or another. And we get so used to distracting ourselves too,
Yeah.
right? So when
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I don't have time for it, and I'm one that be like, I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to do
You
it,
can do it. No.
Um, but it will hit you if you don't turn around and hold its hand,
Yeah.
right? You don't need to
Yeah.
run from it. You got to
Well,
hold
and
its
that's
hand.
the thing with on Fridays we dance, where
Mhm.
again, like where I talk about my mom just being an absolute card and so silly, like she could, she could table dance, she would do it, and that would be like completely sober. Like she knew how to have fun. Like we
Yeah.
would sometimes roll up the rug in the old living room, throw it down the stairs, and have a dance party.
When's
And
your mom's birthday?
September 8th.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so it's just become when I do these dances, I I know, like I can feel her laughing
Yeah.
with me. Sometimes when I've been really funny with some of them, like there was one I had done at a golf course a couple years ago that was just ridiculous.
Okay.
Dressed up kind of like Jim Carrey from Pet Detective and a little bit of combo of what's the Happy Gilmore with the golf. Like it was just my mom comes as a dragonfly. So as we're driving up to this hole to do this dance, like there is a dragonfly
Oh,
buzzing
wow.
around
Yeah.
my head. And I'm like, thanks, Trace. I know you're with
Yeah.
me. You approve.
I love
But
it.
for people that have known my mom, knew my mom, like whether it be friends or other family, like they, and the older I'm getting, like I'm 48 years old now, so I'm only 2 years off of what all that she had. Like
Yeah.
I am so much like her. And in doing these dances, there's so much of her that just shines through me in it. So it feels even more like she's just right there.
Yeah.
And people that, friends of mine that never got to know my mom, they're like, I can see her shine through you when you share these moments and do these dances. And while it's become a way, because I do the dances, but I always share a heartfelt caption of either talking about something in my grief journey or whatever, like feeling your freaking feelings because they deserve to be felt. And that's what I want to really teach people to honor,
Mhm.
especially the uncomfortable ones, like the anger that comes with grief, the
Yeah.
resentment, the all of it, because why should I have to be without my mom when you don't have to be without my mom, even though I don't want you to be without your mom? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right? Um, it's been profoundly healing for me on a different level that I didn't even know. And so it's the connections I've been able to make through it. I just know I'm feeling called to take this pain and lead it into a bit more purpose.
Yeah. And also just the freedom, right? The relationship that you have with your mom and the dancing and just the free spirited person that she was. And for
Mhm.
you to be able to carry it on, that is an extra antidote for you,
Yeah.
because it's like you're not, yes, you're carrying the heaviness of it, but the freedom of dance, the freedom of expression, the freedom of her personality is like coming through, where it's like, yeah, you're going to have your down days, but you know that you have such a tangible, bright part of her that can help you come
Yeah.
out of the storm, so to speak, right?
Well, and
I
it's
love
to honor the fact that grief and joy can coexist at the same time.
that. Hmm.
Because I think any of us very, very early on in our grief journeys, like I can remember being, all of a sudden realizing I didn't cry today.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I didn't cry today. And then when you have a moment where you can legit deep belly laugh and not feel it forced, it's like, oh, but to not feel the guilt of still being able to find happiness and joy in your life. And I think not to say that, okay, like let's just quick move along so we can get to that, but it's honoring that both are always going to kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. And that makes me think of how we as grievers that have suffered real close loss, how we can lean into wanting to just give up. or living our life just kind of half stepping through it and not just, embracing it fully because we're so enamored by the sadness and by the loss. However, and I'm trying to get into this as I'm thinking of this, but our parents, they had a life and they lived it and
Yeah.
it was joyful, and whatever journey that they were on, some was good, some was bad,
Yeah.
whatever, but still we have memories of our parents and know that they had a life and that they actually enjoyed the life. And if a lot of our parents could say at this point in time, we say, well, what would you tell me, while I'm experiencing this, or what would you tell me about life? Enjoy your life, live your life. Don't take your life for granted. Have fun. Don't be so serious. All of these things. And we tend to forget all about that when that loss happens. And it's so hard for a lot of us to kind of step back into the groove of things to start to really live and not survive, right?
Well, and that's even where like it's the fake it till you make it part, but
Hmm.
even when the first handful of the first few Christmases, like I knew that my mom would, I always called it the Tracy wagging finger. Like when I was a teenager, be like, well, you're not going to do this and you're not going to do this. I knew that if I didn't make Christmas a joyful day for my kids, she would kick my ass
Yeah.
because she always made Christmas joyful for us.
Hmm.
Like going back through pictures and you're coming down Christmas morning to look for your stockings and see what's under the tree, the pictures. She was always like the biggest smile on her face, the sparkle in her eyes.
Yeah.
Um, so for the first few years, like I just had to fake through that to try and get
Mhm.
there. And that's where I'm so freaking grateful for my husband. A lot of the time he takes on the gift buying and the purchasing and the ideas because he knows that it's just so hard for me. And
Okay.
that's one thing he can do to help carry the load.
Yeah.
Um, but there's still so much joy in Christmas Day,
Mhm.
watching my kids open their stuff and doing the things with cousins and family and
Yeah.
having memories of like laughing. That is the laughter through the tears, like remembering different times from our own childhood Christmases and laughing at different things and knowing that you want to continue it on because that's what they would also want for you to do.
Definitely. Definitely.
Right? It's still finding those happy moments.
Yeah. Now, I did hear a few times as we were talking that the subject or even the notion of trauma came up. So after you experience these losses, especially the loss of a parent, you start
Yep.
to question your identity. You start to wonder, about self, and just are kind of like faced with yourself in a sense, just through memories, through experience. What would you say was exposed in you once you lost your mother?
Well, the reality of not even knowing who the hell I was anymore.
Okay.
Um, and having to start picking up the pieces of who am I, what am I? And that probably started about 10 years ago or so, like where I needed supports again and leaned into mindfulness, like meditation work. And that was profound for me to feel a release in my body,
Okay.
um, and the body scans and that sort of thing. And doing more of the connective work and energy work, like really leaned into Reiki. But I also had flashbacks then a couple years ago of being abused by my uncle as a child
Okay.
that I had locked so deep in a vault that even I remember my first Reiki session I'd ever had. Um, the practitioner that was working on me, she could feel something in
Hmm.
my stomach and she goes, oh, I just thought, maybe there was a little something we could loosen it up, but your body just was like, nope, this is locked in a vault in a box, you need to back away. She goes, so we're just going to leave it. And I honestly just thought it was grief I wasn't ready to process.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this has come in layers. So when some flashbacks did start happening, I'm like, ew. That's what that was.
Yeah. And, with that too, did your mom know that that happened to you?
No.
Mm, okay.
Nor did like my dad. He said, "Did you ever try to tell us?" Because I had told my grandmother. Um,
Okay.
and she just kind of, again, it was not saying it's okay, but I understand now as I've worked through things, it was a generation, especially my grandparents' generation.
Hmm.
Um, you sweep it under the rug, you pretend everything's good because we have to look like the big happy family
Yeah.
and keep it together so we don't talk about the uncomfortable
Yeah.
things. So when I had the memory surface, I said to my dad, I'm like, no, I didn't try to tell you. But then when more memory had surfaced, where my uncle had said, like, if anybody knows the bad things you had done, they'll never love you. Then I was like, because I don't know exactly how old I was. I think I was 6 or 7. Um,
Okay.
but again, I was like, I don't know why I didn't try to tell them. But again, you can't rationalize with that childlike version of yourself. I think if a kid's
Yeah.
told that nobody's going to love you, then we got to keep that a secret.
Yeah. And fear too. And was it molestation? Was it rape? What
Molestation.
molestation? And so with that, you have that fear, right? Because that is your first real experience with some sort of sexual orientation, some sort of sexual
Yeah.
attention. And when someone does that to you, it makes you feel dirty, right? And your
Yeah.
6, 7, 5, 6, 7 year old mind, you're aware of certain things. You may hear certain conversations or see something on TV, and, you know, parents will
Yeah.
say, close your eyes or,
Yep.
whatever. And you start to think certain things or feel certain things, but all you know is that this is dirty, right? And when someone does it to you and tells you what your abuser told you,
That I'm
why
bad.
not?
Yep.
Because my parents are going to think that I'm dirty and I'm not going to be their little girl anymore. I'm not going to
Yep.
be all these things. So I mean, it's valid that you didn't say anything. Also, with the understanding, but you did. You told your grandmother, right? You told your
Yeah.
grandmother, and that didn't go anywhere.
And that I think is where, the more trauma work I've leaned into to support myself again in
Mhm.
therapy, podcasts, reading, all of it. It's um, what actually happened to me. My trauma doesn't necessarily come from that. It's how I was responded to and I wasn't responded to.
Yeah.
So a lot of my old beliefs are I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't matter. What's
Hmm.
the point in speaking up? Nothing's going to happen. Working through all those. So even though at 48 years old, I know that I'm worthy, I matter, my voice matters, there's still times where I shut down.
Hmm.
And making mistakes for me is like, even though in reality, I always tell my kids, I'm like, we make mistakes. That's how we learn. We can't expect to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't always give myself that same grace because
Yeah.
it's that deeply embedded, the healing that still needs to happen.
Yeah. And the aspect of perfection. And during the time that I've been speaking with you, I know that you have a little cold going on. But your throat chakra is very closed as well, right? And that's that expression,
Yeah.
that's that childhood,
Yeah.
that inner child um
Yeah.
having a hard time expressing itself. And when we think about perfection and we think about, this is where that shadow comes in, because grandma said or alluded to, we don't want this to happen in our family, right? We can't allow people to know that our family is some sort of dysfunctional, because we have an image to hold up, right? And so you go into life, and that's what you act out. You act out this image, you act out this
Yes.
whole thing of, perfection, and I can't do anything wrong. If I do anything wrong, it affects me. I'm judging myself in a way that others may or may not be judging me, but I am my worst critic, right? Stemming from grandma saying or not saying, indirectly or
Like,
directly.
and like she didn't say it was like not
Indirectly.
saying, but as an
Yeah.
adult, like I know where like it was said without being said,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so
Um,
that's embedded in you. That's deep.
Yeah.
Like, don't do anything wrong. You can't do anything wrong. We don't want to put any negative spotlights on us because that's not who we are. And so, therefore, there's your identity being birthed there.
Yeah. But even as a kid, like I would go, God, it would be like every month, like clockwork. I would be homesick on my grandma's couch with a sore throat.
Yeah. Can't express.
No wonder.
Yeah. Can't express. And it's interesting how your trauma comes through your body. Everyone's does.
Yeah,
Um,
eventually.
yeah, everyone's does, but just hearing you, yours really shows up like and it happens fast. If you do not address it when it's
Honor
asking you
what's
to
one.
address it,
Yeah.
it's going to attack you, right?
Yeah.
So with that, how would you say that you started to cope? How did you cope with your abuse, your grief? And let's even put out there too, I think I was talking earlier, I don't know if it was pre-recording or not, but a lot of the times our grief starts way before our grief hits, right? So before baby Harper passed away, before mom passed away, you were grieving your childhood, you were grieving your innocence, from someone molesting you. And so how would you say that through it all, you coming to this point, you being in your teenage years, your child years, your teenage years, your 20s, your 30s, how did you start coping with everything that happened to you?
A lot of time I didn't. I drank.
Okay.
Like very in my teens, even you would, it was a way to not have to, where I could finally kind of leave myself.
Yeah.
Um, 5 years ago, I quit drinking, and that is where I think the real profound healing has happened.
Hmm.
Um, Dealing when we go, if we want to specifically go to the trauma, I've found journaling
Okay.
to be huge for me because even it was constantly like, why would you do this to me? As I say that, I get a tickle. The pen to paper of that, more could come out than I realized was inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Screaming,
Because it's not
screaming.
just living in your mind, right? It's actually out there. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Forgiving
And
myself. The throat.
mhm.
There we go.
Yeah. And isn't it funny how I was just saying how your body reacts to things strongly.
Yeah.
And the the purpose of your life is so significant in a way that the shadow, the forces that are not of you still try to hinder you and still try to shut you down, right? When you start to express yourself, when you start to express what's happened to you, when you speak it out, it's so not used to having awareness put to it in such a vocal way that
Yeah.
it's like it attacks you, right? It attacks you. It's like
I love the
let
way you put that.
yeah, let's not talk about this. This is not, but it's your way of not forcing, but embracing your power of saying you no longer have that over me,
Exactly.
right? And so I just find that's not just happenstance.
Oh no, I
That's
know
a
that.
thing happening.
But it's so the fact that you had said earlier what you'd said, I know you're getting over a cold, but your throat chakra.
Yeah,
And the second I really lean into talking about it, I go into a coughing fit.
coughing fit.
Hi.
But that's your power,
Your body
and
talks.
that's exercising that of saying, I
Yeah.
am in power now, part of that
Yeah.
shadow. I am in power now. You don't get to chase me down anymore. And I'm not going to run anymore. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to face you. And I'm going to call you what you are. And I am going to address it. I accept it. I acknowledge it. And now this is what I'm doing in the space of my grief, in the space of my abuse, in the space of all of these things. I'm integrating it, shadow, integrating it in such a way that's going to help those that doesn't feel like they have a voice, help those that have been through this and will come through this, that feels as if they can't express, right? So that's pain into purpose. Like it, grief, abuse, trauma, it catapults you into your purpose, even if you are oblivious to it while it's happening,
Yeah.
right?
Like oblivious for so long.
Yeah.
And it was in, so both my grandmother, actually my grandma, my grandpa, and my uncle, like they've all been, they're past. And in giving myself grace for not being the type of mom I wanted to be to the boys when they were little, like
Yeah.
in some therapy work there and some EMDR. It was after I'd let that go from my body, like that heaviness had been lifted. It
Hmm.
was my body saying, okay, you're ready. This is safe for you
Yeah.
to now learn and unpack and heal. And so, as devastating as it's been, I now understand why I'm afraid to speak up, why I can freeze sometimes,
Hmm.
um, and just go, oh, I don't want to make like, there's just so many things I can understand. And
Yeah.
in being able to share this journey, a lot of it's come out through the Friday dances again, like to when it's felt okay to share.
Yeah.
Um, and in some podcasts, um, people that have sent me private messages to say, thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability with what's happened to you. I'm so sorry, but you are giving me the courage to step up and
Hmm.
address my own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Purpose and
knowing
alignment.
that people are feeling that safety and to do that, it's huge because there's so much healing that we don't have to carry it alone,
Yeah.
and we never should have.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to be the first one to go into that space, right? You're the front line, and you experience the brunt force of it all. Experience the brunt force of losing Harper, and then finding out exactly what her diagnosis was, and just the abuse and all the things. Just in order for the ones behind you, or even the ones that have gone before you that don't have a voice, that don't know what this feeling is, or even how to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're the catalyst for that, and just how funny life is. It's not fair.
No,
It's not funny some of the times,
but
and
it's
it
funny,
doesn't why.
peculiar. Sometimes I will say it's funny.
Yeah,
It's not.
isn't this funny?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I love it. And, this is a part of the work. This is a part of the work that we come on this earth to do. And it's not pretty, but people need people like you and I and other people in the collective space that can create the space for them, can create the atmosphere for them to feel safe, even at times when you don't feel safe yourself, right?
No,
But it's an
and like
exercise.
creating that safety for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. So I know that you mentioned a little bit of, how you weren't able to show up for the kids, the way that you
Mhm.
wanted to. How would you say that your grief and just your loss or abuse, how would you say that made you show up as a mother, and how did you rectify that?
I was very quick to react and snap on them,
Okay.
as lose your shit and yell, and
Hmm.
then I feel like crap. And I mean, I can at least give myself credit that I would come back and apologize.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I never should have yelled at you like that. You didn't deserve that. And they would both say, it's okay, mom. And I'm like, nope, it's not okay. I would like you to say, I accept your apology because you shouldn't have to accept anybody. shitting on you for something that you didn't deserve.
Yeah. And just noticing that it was reactive, noticing that it
Because I
was
had no
controlling.
capacity, like, and
Yeah.
it's regulating my nervous system. I realize my youngest specifically has a very dysregulated nervous system, but it's because I say it lovingly, but I was a train wreck when I was pregnant with him. So no wonder
Yeah.
he struggles with some nervous system regulation.
Yeah. And how is that relationship with your children now? Because
Good.
when you are, go ahead.
It's good.
It's good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um, and I noticed like sometimes when things happen early, there's a lot of um, reconciliation that needs to be done. There's a lot of parents who feel as if they have to overcompensate for what they didn't do or what have you, and the relationship can be a little strained, right? You have boundaries that you have to put in there, because it's like, even though I was a train wreck over here, I'm still your mother, and we still have to have boundaries.
yep.
But we have to have a respectful and appropriate relationship as and bonding as parent to children. Did you have any of those
With
issues?
no, I wouldn't. And I mean, my oldest, he'll be 19 this year.
Okay.
Um, and he's always very much kept to himself. And sometimes I feel that that's probably, I blame myself for
Okay.
that. And I've had conversations with him where I've apologized if I didn't give him the attention he needed. And he was always easy, but that if I didn't give him that, it's not because he didn't deserve it. And I'm sorry if I ever made him feel
Mhm.
that way. And I mean, I'm sure there's things there. He's, in that space of I'm a young adult and I want my space, but he does know he can come to me when he needs to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that it's interesting how you said that he keeps to himself. Um, and it could be just an element of trust, right? Because if mom was a wrecking ball during those times, I don't know, didn't know at that time what was safe, what was not, what
Yeah.
was, and so he learned to kind of isolate himself to keep himself out of the fire,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And how is your relationship with your husband going through all of this?
We often feel like we're ships passing at night with work and life schedules. Intimacy is definitely a struggle
Yeah,
on my behalf.
yeah,
He is incredibly supportive. Um, he doesn't, he'll kind of leave me to be and he'll ask if there's anything I need. Like he, again, is quiet in that sense, but shows up when I need him to. And it's, I think, learning for us to be okay with communicating those things. And I think
yeah,
sometimes, again, that struggle is real.
yeah. And
But I
it's the
mean, he's still my ride or die.
Yeah. And it's the healing,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter if you're 25 or if you're 75, once you have been abused and once you've had loss and all the things, it does affect you in the way that you show up for
Yep.
yourself, in the way that you show up in relationships as a mother, as a wife, sexually, all those things, because your identity is a little shattered, right?
Tough.
And you are trying to make yourself get into a place where you feel safe within yourself. And even though you know that your husband, like you said, he's your ride or die, he's not your abuser, he's not going to hurt you.
No,
However, allowing anyone into that space is sacred and scary, right?
absolutely.
Right. And so going back to, because I know you said that you did Reiki and that she kind of found that stagnant area there. Have you done Reiki since then, and has that area freed itself up?
Yeah. I and I'll do a lot of like I've got my level 2 Reiki, so I'll do a lot of energy work on myself.
Yeah.
For the longest time when I would do it, like my heart chakra would just I could feel the magnetism there, and then below that I would lose it.
Okay.
I'm now to the point I always get them confused. I call it my one of my mentors. She calls what's your next one after your heart chakra?
Oh, your solar plexus?
Solar plexus,
Hmm.
your golden throne, your power, you're sitting on your golden throne.
Hmm.
That is now very strong. And then my
Sacral?
sacral chakra, I'm
Hmm.
feeling that. There, I've needed a lot of healing,
Yeah.
I think, because of the trauma, but also from um, Harper, the C-section, the
Yeah.
birth there. For me now, it's still like getting that connection in my root chakra.
Yeah. Definitely.
Being,
Because that's your foundation, right?
yeah. So that
Yeah.
one is harder. It's the one my mentor had said it's almost to for a visual is like a red marble, and it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be like that. Like it's so I can feel it more.
Yeah.
But even when I've received Reiki from others, like I don't know, it's like nothing else. It's so comforting.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I will say if I'm ever in Canada, I would love to do a Reiki session on you. I would love to. And I'm
Do you ever
actually
do
looking.
virtual? Like, do you ever do distance
Oh yeah,
virtual?
I do
Well,
distance virtual.
then
Yeah.
we need to do that.
Yeah.
But there's
Uh,
nothing like hands-on.
yeah. And I am working on a collaboration or two in Canada. So I'm hoping to get into Canada to do a workshop or
Cool.
so. So when I do, or if we just do it virtually, but I would love to do a Reiki session on you. Okay, so Tara, we have talked about a lot, and you have shared a lot with us. And thank you for being so vulnerable in the space.
Thank
We
you.
covered a lot of ground. If I were to ask you today, and you can take a breath and just sit back and think about it. If I were to ask you today, Tara, who are you? Who are you?
I hate this question. I can go to all the things I am. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am
Mhm.
a designer. I am a healer. I still don't know how to answer who I am, other than I know I am love and light.
Okay, okay, and that's fair,
Yeah.
right? And that's always
With a
that's
little bit of fuck yourself.
that is fair, and that is so true, and that is when you come out of the the vibe of it all, it's still that humanistic portion of you too, right?
Yeah.
Where it's life is lifing, life is real, and we are all evolving into and trying to show up in the most authentic way that we can once we start doing the work, right?
Yeah.
And since you have been doing the work and you are more aware of yourself, then what you who you said that you are, that's more closer to the truth than anything that you could have said, right? Because we don't come into this life being mothers and daughters and all these things. We come into this life with a purpose. We come into this life with that light and with that aspect of this spirit, this soul has been set here to do X, Y, and Z. And you so happen to have been set here to shed light on a lot of different experiences and to help lead people to the light. So that's the closest thing to the truth of what you said. So
And I think
maybe you know more
maybe I
than you
know.
think.
I think it's part of it too. I'm finally finding my light again.
Mm.
And I'm allowing it to shine instead of dulling it.
Ooh, I love that. That's something, and that speaks to me because I've really been trying to find my light. Like after my father passed away, like my light it
Your
just
light
turned
went,
off.
yeah,
It was gone.
and rightly so.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, I've just been going through the motions. Like I think I need to be reignited again. I think I need to be, because I'm like, this light is just like, but it's there. It's there.
It's just not,
Um,
it's just dim right now.
yeah. Yeah. Um, Okay. Now I know that you have a book. Tell us about your book.
So, I am part of a collaborative book. It was
Hmm.
released on Amazon March 4th.
Okay.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm one of, I think there's 21 of us in it. It's Voices of Survivors, Breaking the Silence, Volume 4. So in my chapter, I share my journey through grief with Harper and my mom and talk about coming into On Fridays We Dance, and just how healing that has been for me. Michelle Jewsbury is the I don't want to, the coordinator isn't the right, but she also didn't call herself the author, but she is the facilitator, I guess, of
Okay.
this. She's been a beautiful light in my life. And for her, it was the bravery to start sharing her story, because in sharing your story, you're bound to help other people.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I am just waiting for my books to arrive here to do a book launch here in Ontario.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And everyone, her links to her books and the ways to get in contact with her will be shared in her bio under the podcast. Tara, so what else can we look forward to seeing from you in the near future?
Well, every Friday, some silly sort of dance that surfaces. I'm in the works right now of putting together, I want to get into running retreats,
Okay.
retreat work, um, leaning into the holistic healing that has helped me
Okay.
move forward. But I'm in the works of getting a full day retreat happening in May.
Okay.
So I will be sharing more details about that soon on my Instagram
Awesome.
page. I'm also in the works of, I'll be volunteering with a hospice in the area, and I'm going to be doing some support group work through them,
Okay.
which is feeling really scary and really exciting.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how is that feeling? That's
That's when I was asked, they were like, how does that feel? I'm like, scary as hell, and exactly what I
yeah,
know I need to do.
yeah. And it's facing those fears, right? I mean, because you are in the environment with people who know they're about to die, like
Yeah.
that's something. That's
Yeah.
something. Well, I mean, yay you for the courage, right?
Thank
That's
you.
courage. That's exercising those portions of you that are uncomfortable, and even the portions of you that um, may help unstick your expression. Um, it's all for the betterment of you and what you are sent here to do. Because that's not just something people do,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I'll take it. I think I'll take it. She's like, well, maybe I'll change my mind.
I know. And that's kind of where I'm like, ooh, yes. And then I go, ooh, you can't do that. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, but little girl, you can.
yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Tara?
Thank you.
You are so welcome. It's
It's
been
been,
a huge joy.
it's been an incredible way to spend an afternoon.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, Tara, I thank you for showing up in the shadow box and being as vulnerable as you were, and just trusting the space, trusting me, to share your story and to bring awareness to a lot of different areas that grief and abuse, trauma, all these different areas that are shunned, that are not spoken of, that are not expressed in the way that you could express it, because there's so many people who have experienced exactly what you've experienced and do not know how to put words to it, or do not know how to show up in that space, so I just thank you. I really, really do thank you.
Thank you for creating this space for someone like me to come and share.
Definitely. Everyone else, thank you for coming into the shadow box and sitting here with Tara and I. Again, all of her information will be in her bio under the podcast. And until next time, namaste.